Welcome to 71 Reasons, the podcast. I am your host, Kevin Poe, and here is a place where stories come to life. Each episode, we sit down and with incredible individuals to explore their stories, share laughs, and uncover what drives them. Today on the podcast, we're excited to have the founder of Charlotte Football Insiders, former head coach, and a partner of the Queen City Senior Bowl, a community leader, a pioneer on and off the field. Let's give a warm welcome to Matt Morrow. Thank you for joining us.
Wow, I've never been called a pioneer. I appreciate it.
Can you tell us a little bit about your journey and what led you to becoming a coach and the community leader you are today?
Well, coaching really kind of got started right after my playing career. I played at Harding in the late 90s and I got hurt my junior year. And it was an injury where doctor said if I got hurt again, I'd have a permanent injury for the rest of my life. So, I wanted to finish out my senior year. So, played then, and then we made a decision, kind of a family decision to not play because we don't want to risk that.
Mhm.
So I didn't want to just walk away and just go to college or whatever. So I wanted to coach because I loved the game, and I couldn't play, so I figured that was the next best thing. So I started coaching, and kind of started as a grad assistant. That's what we called it.
Okay.
I did all the grunt work. And just kind of worked my way up, kept hanging around, and became an offensive line coach, and then varsity offense coordinator, then an assistant head coach. So that's really kind of how I got into high school football, pretty much. I was also working a 9 to 5, which of course I still do now,
Yeah.
and I had to make a choice between either wanting to try to become a head coach or focus on the 9 to 5. And coaches are vastly underpaid, and I didn't want to struggle.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So I chose the 9 to 5. And once again, I wanted to stay connected to the game, so I got a job with a group called Carolina Varsity, which if you've been around North Carolina, you probably heard that
Yes,
name
sir.
before. That was in 2012. And then 2019 in March, I started Charlotte Football Insiders, mainly because I wanted to do football stuff 365. Carolina Varsity was just really kind of during the season. And that really just kind of expanded to that. And then in 2020, with CFI, we started doing showcases. So that's kind of how the um, career progressed with high school football.
Who or what inspired you during this path, or who was someone who inspired you to pursue this path?
Ooh, that's a good question. Wow. Um, to be honest, when I played in high school, we were not very good at Harding. Um, what inspired me to do this was the fact that we never got any coverage back in the day. Like, what we try to do at CFI is we try to show love to everybody. Like, we're gonna cover West Charlotte the same way we cover Garinger. Just two examples. I'm not trying to pick on nobody.
Yeah.
But back then, it was, if you weren't a good team, you weren't getting any love at all.
Yeah.
And the only entity back then really was the Charlotte Observer. And they maybe came around maybe once a year to cover a game, maybe. We never
Yeah.
got football Friday night,
Yeah.
maybe once a year. So that was really the inspiration. That, and then we were I was coaching at Harding in 2000, and what year was that? 2000 and maybe three? Yeah, oh three. Harding, we started 5-0, and we were
Yeah.
going in to play Independence, who was also 5-0. So we were, really jazzed up. It was a big game to us. And the game of the week was some random game in Gaston County between two average teams. We were just sitting there like, what do we gotta do to
Yeah.
get somebody, look at us? So those two events really were kind of the inspiration behind Charlotte Football Insiders. And now, it's a different era and
Yeah.
every game's got somebody on the sideline with a camera. So,
Yeah.
but that's
Yeah.
really what was the inspiration.
Okay. So what is the most rewarding part of what you do now?
Helping the kids and parents. That's the most rewarding. When we have a kid that gets their first offer at one of our showcases, that really makes me feel good because you're really making a difference. Or you do an interview with the kid and they say, "Oh, it's my first interview," those kind of experiences really make it worthwhile. That and just knowing that we're trying to make a difference here
Yeah.
in a world where you have people that really try to take advantage of these kids sometimes. Our desires are genuine. A lot of people that work with us, like my core people, when we do our shows every week and that kind of thing, they don't get
Go
paid
ahead. Go ahead.
they don't get paid for doing the shows or anything like that.
Yeah.
So at its core, CFI is really about the kids and it's about giving back. So
Okay.
that's what really makes me feel good.
How would you describe your leadership style or your coaching style when you were coaching?
That's a that's a good question, man. I would say I was a player's coach. I picked and chose the times to where I had to get on the guys,
Yeah.
for different reasons. Um, the best way I can probably describe it is, I'm a laid back guy for the most part, but if I'm going to yell at you or get on you, it's to wake you up and make you realize, you're missing an opportunity. Whether, we got to get a down block and a combo block on a lead play, or we've got to get 3 seconds to block that defensive end so we can take a shot down the field,
Yeah.
whatever it is. I'm gonna give you some leeway and let you be yourself as a player, but if you need to be woken up, I'm gonna wake you up.
Yeah.
Pre-game speeches, sometimes you have to kind of read the guys. If you feel like they're locked in, you don't have to go and give a real fiery pregame speech. You just kind
Yeah.
of let them off the leash pretty much. But if you see they're kind of, you know, going through warm-ups and they're not really locked in or whatever it may be, you might have to, jump them a little bit. So
Yeah.
laid back, but if they need a jump, I have that in me. And some of the former players will tell you that they didn't like that if I had to jump.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. What is your biggest lesson that you try to instill into the people that you mentor?
Um, you only get one shot at whatever you're trying to do. That's the biggest lesson I would say. Why should you have to wait on, wanting to be great or wanting to achieve what you want to achieve? If you're a freshman and you come to me and say, "Hey, I want to play varsity," okay. All right, well, let's sit down and let's talk about what you need to do. You want to play varsity as a freshman, for
Yeah.
an example. Or running back says, I want to have 1,000 yard season. I say, all right, well, this is what you got to do in our offense to have 1,000 yard season. So
Yeah.
there's no need to, wait on your dreams. Life is
Yeah.
short.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. And you got to make the most of the opportunity that's in front of you today.
Yeah. How do you balance pushing people to achieve their potential while supporting them at the same time?
Um, That's a good question. Like we'll use that example I just said about a player. So, um, they want to have 1,000 yards each for a running back example. Let's say they're
Yeah.
having that conversation with me right now. It's January. So,
Hmm.
we got to put a plan together to say, okay, first of all, you need to get stronger. So you need to have your butt here in the weight room every day when we have workouts. That's the first thing. Number two, you got to run track. You got to be faster. So you need to
Yeah.
be on the track team. Three, and it's really not number three, but it's three. How I'm saying is
Mhm.
your grades. You got to be eligible. So
Yeah.
you need to have a good GPA to be eligible to try to go for that 1,000 yard season. Four, summer conditioning. You need to be here in the summer when we start, really ramping up. And now these days, you don't really stop.
Yeah.
We have summer 7-on-7s and things like that. You got to be here,
Yeah.
period. So it's about, putting a plan together and making sure that they understand, okay, if I dedicate myself and I do these things in this plan, then I'm gonna have a good shot at getting where I want to be.
Okay. What challenges have you faced being a coach, a community leader, and how did you overcome those challenges?
Wow, there's been a lot. There's been a lot. And we'll talk about the community leader part of that because um, I was the Booster Club president at Harding University High School for 6 years. I just stepped down in August this past year. And there were so many challenges in that role that a lot of people may not understand. The first one being just trying to rally people and get them behind supporting a school that has, kind of not fallen by the wayside, but people have, neglected
Yeah.
in a lot of different ways. You would think it'd be easy because it's right there in front of you, the facilities being so old and uniforms being 10 years out of date and all those things.
Yeah.
But you have to paint a picture and bring it to people, and you have to try to find people that care and can really do something about it. Um, so the biggest challenge was getting the message heard, and we had to go to the school board twice before anyone started listening. And that
Yeah.
anyone ended up being the news, and the news and the Observer ended up being the biggest helps in getting the word out. And so things started happening, because of that. So um, it's a lot. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of dedication. Um, and if you're not built for the long haul, it'll grind on you if you care,
Yeah.
and that's the
Definitely.
big. You got to care
Yeah.
for change to happen.
Yeah. So can you share a moment that stands out as a major success or a milestone in your career?
Well, I mean, talking about the Booster Club at Harding, we were able to get on the latest bond package that got approved. I believe it's been gosh, about a year and a half ago. So in a few years, once they get to it on the construction bond list, Harding will have new athletic facilities, a new stadium. There'll be I think a new baseball field too. Um, and then I think a new cafeteria is a part of that as well. So that was a major victory, and I don't think a lot of people know
Yeah.
that. But
Yeah.
that is going to happen. I would say another one would be back in 2014. I came out of coaching for 1 year to help Harding. At that time, Coach Walter Akins was the football coach, as long as being the basketball head coach.
Yeah.
But the football coach, it was really in name only because he called me as soon as he said he was going to be the football coach and said, "Hey, I need you to do football. I'm doing
Yeah.
basketball." And the biggest thing back then was they hadn't had a JV team for 3 years. And everyone kept saying, well, that's not going to happen. They don't have JV over there anymore, and all that stuff. Well, we were able to get a JV team. Um, and that was a huge achievement. And the core of that team ended up being a major part of the state championship team 3 years later in 2017.
Yeah.
Guys like Brahim Murphy, Malik Dunlap, Reggie Burris, um, and several others, Trayvon Corbett.
Yeah.
Rest in peace to Trayvon.
Yeah.
Uh,
Rest in peace.
yeah, but those guys ended up being a major part of that state championship team, and it came from what we did in 2014 of bringing those guys together, and they got a chance to play together on JV.
Yeah. Okay. How do you handle setbacks and disappointments, both personally and with your team and the community?
Well, I will start with personally. Personally, setbacks, I try to learn something from them. And there's always something, whether it's at work or in your home life or whatever. What can you learn to not make the same mistake twice? I would say from a personal standpoint. From a team standpoint, kind of the same thing. If we have a bad game or had a bad game when I was coaching, you just sit down, look at the film, um, and see, okay, what are the things we need to work on? And the main thing in 2014, we weren't very good because we didn't have a lot of experience.
Yeah.
Um, and we weren't very strong. So we knew going into games, well, we're not going to be able to push people around and we need to keep the game plan simple. So we controlled the things that we could control. And we had a couple of competitive games that year. Started out very good that year. It was the more that we had time with the kids, um, was when we were at our best. When we got away from, the kids as the school year went on and things like that, kind of struggled. So, that was one of the things I learned is that in an inner city school, you have to have a constant presence on campus with multiple people um watching your kids. As many coaches on staff that you can get into the school, the better chance of success you'll have in an inner city school. That is. And then what was the third part? It was personal, team, and
No, I
what
was
was it?
just personal with the team and around the community.
Oh, in the community. Okay. Yeah, in the community, it's about how do you motivate um stakeholders? Like how can you connect with people to get them to understand the message? And that was a constant challenge when I was Booster Club president at Harding is, you know, not everyone's gonna sympathize.
Yeah.
Everyone's got something,
Yeah.
going on that they're dealing with. And you may have your struggles and think, okay, well, they need to help us because, we got bleachers that are falling apart and all this stuff. But,
Yeah.
everyone's got something. So just find a way to connect with people and reach them so they can understand you.
Okay. How do you see your role and the things that you do in the community help better the community?
Well, with CFI, the main thing I would say is we try to do things for free or at the lowest cost possible. There's a lot of people out in the high school football world who try to take advantage of kids and try to gain clout off the backs of kids.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's right. Everything I try to do is genuine from the heart with the premise of wanting to help kids at the core of it. And um anything that I can do for free that I try to do. I've tried my best to try to find sponsors to make the showcases free, but I haven't had that success just yet. So we literally hold them at the lowest possible cost possible to break even. Like I don't make money.
Yeah.
And some people, kind of throw a blanket statement out about camps saying they're a money grab. And, there are some camps out here that charge $200 and $300
Yeah.
for one day. And I just think that's ridiculous. We'll never do that.
Yeah.
We will never do it. Um, so that's my piece on that.
Okay. Um, how can the community better help the work that you're doing?
Um, I think that the biggest thing is we offer sponsorship opportunities with CFI, and we were able to partner with two great sponsors last year, Victory Chevrolet and Black Bridge Financial, owned by Craig Fail. Those were our two first primary sponsors that we had ever.
Yeah.
And those funds really helped us do a lot more, with CFI. So we're always looking for community partners to, come in and sponsor. I think we do a really good job of branding and having people's names out there on the different, things that we do and that we offer. So we're if you have the same vision as us and you want to help high school kids and you have a passion for high school football, I think, businesses would be, a great partner for us, and you'll connect with people that are most likely to use your business and we can help make a difference together.
What motivates you to keep going even on the tough days?
The fact that I don't want to see kids get taken advantage of, that and knowing that these high school coaches put in so much work, and when I get the chance, I want to promote them as well, because I was in their shoes, and a lot of times they don't get a chance to talk. Coaches only get a chance to talk after they win a game or in a preseason preview in an article, typically. Now there are a couple people who are doing, more stuff kind of like this, but a lot of times, people want to talk to some kids, which is cool, or they'll talk to coaches in those situations, but just sitting down, getting to know coaches and that kind of thing, that doesn't really happen. So, to help the kids and the coaches and the parents too, because there are a lot of parents who just don't understand, the high school football, the recruiting, all the camps, and there's a lot of money in this
Yeah.
business. I don't want to see people get taken advantage of.
Okay. If you had one piece of advice to an inspiring leader or coach or someone who wants to get into the space that you're in, what would it be?
Do it for the right reasons. Don't do it for money.
Yeah,
Because you're not going to get rich, number one.
yeah,
And then number two, if your heart's not in it for the right reasons, you're not going to stick with it because it is work. It is a lot of work. And, for me, it is a passion. Um, it, I don't want to say it didn't start out that way, but it's become that for me. Because like I said earlier, it means a lot to help put a kid out there and they find success partially because of what you've done, to help, kind of promote their career.
So what's one thing about you that people may not know, but it is essential to understanding who you are as a person?
Ooh, yeah, tough. Hmm. One thing about me people don't know. I think what people don't know about me is that I may come off as um a tough guy, so to speak, in some of the things that we say sometimes, or
Yeah,
how direct we are on our shows and things like that. But at the core, I really am a listener. Um, there are times where my friends um or kids for that matter, reach out and say they need to talk or they want to talk about something. And, I really just kind of sit back and listen and try to understand what they're talking about and then try to, give them some advice, whether it's from experience or just kind of listening to the situation and, you know, kind of putting something together. Um, yeah, yeah, I'm definitely a good listener, I guess.
yeah, that's something that's always good to have somebody that'll just listen to you and you can pour your heart out to them and they won't judge you, they'll just listen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so moving on, what are your goals in the future, both personal and professionally?
Personal goals. I am married, um, and we are building a new house. So that was one of our goals is to, kind of build a house together. So we're close to achieving that. I have a good job, in my opinion. So I want to continue to, hit the goals that I have, at my job, my 9 to 5 job.
Yeah,
And I guess that's professional, but also professionally with CFI. I would love to be able to um do a we've done it a couple of times, but I want to be able to find a consistent sponsor to do a big jamboree here in Charlotte. Um You see them kind of spread out across the area,
Yeah,
but Charlotte doesn't have a big annual jamboree, and I think that's crazy.
yeah,
Um, we've done it before. We know what we need to do it, but we need a big time sponsor to get behind it.
okay,
We get a big time sponsor behind it annually. You'll get really good teams to come in. It's something that we could play, at one of the schools with turf, or if it's a big enough sponsor, we could play it at Memorial Stadium downtown.
okay.
But a city like Charlotte, a metro area like Charlotte, deserves something like that.
Yeah.
And that's a big goal that I have, and something that we're working on, right now. So yeah.
How do you hope to continue to make an impact in the community going forward?
Um, Pretty much just kind of trying to keep doing what we're doing, honestly. For us, I think we do a good job of giving back already. So just trying to keep the guys that I have in line, and if someone else wants to join our efforts, they're more than welcome. But it would also be nice to find a way to have like a free combine. It's something I've thought about doing. And not to give away too much information, but um, we have the means to do it. I just need to find the best way of, going about getting it done. As
Yeah,
far as whenever we hold an event, there's a lot of upfront fees that you have to pay as far as insurance and things like that. And if we're gonna hold something for free, we need to find someone to kind of sponsor those costs.
yeah,
But I think we're close to doing something like that once a year. So that way, if you can't afford a showcase, you can still find a way to come out, compete in front of, some people, get some media exposure, and, have that out there to where you can use that to enhance, your Twitter profile, for example.
This is my last question. What legacy do you hope to leave behind?
Can you say that again?
What legacy do you hope to leave behind?
Wow. Um, the legacy would probably be just knowing that I was able to make a difference in kids' lives. When people look back and, think about, Charlotte high school football, they'll say, "Yeah, man, you had an interview by Pep." Pep Man's my nickname.
Yeah,
Um, you remember that? You remember that the touchdown you got, and it was on, CFI's YouTube channel, for example. Just having those moments where we capture something that people 5, 10, 15 years can go back and look at and say, "Yeah, man, yeah, that was pretty cool, man." And they can show their family, they can show their kids, and um, they just know that, CFI really stood for doing things the right way and capturing those moments that, otherwise other people may not, save and capture.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that's the
definitely,
legacy
definitely,
I'd like to leave.
definitely a big deal, especially in youth sports and trying to get exposure. Um, that's something that is well needed. And the things that you do don't go on deaf ears. We appreciate what you do with these kids. Um, I hope to hopefully partner with you one day. Maybe we can get something going. But thank you for what you're doing in the community and thank you for joining us today and taking time out of your busy schedule to share your story. So before we wrap up, is there anything that you would like to share with our audience, upcoming events, any ways that we can help with the work that you're doing, and how and where can we find CFI?
Yeah. Well, first off, my Twitter name is at Pepman704, PEPMAN 704. You can follow me on Twitter. We have a Twitter account, CFI Showcases. That's where we put all of our camp information and we promote our kids that come to our camps. We have a Facebook page, Charlotte Football Insiders. We also have an Instagram, Charlotte Football Insiders. You can check out all of our content on those platforms. I mean, the best way to help is to,
Yeah.
share everything that we put out there, man, because we're promoting kids, we're promoting events. Our next event will be our spring showcase, which will be in May. I think we have a date nailed down and we're working on a location. We'll probably have an announcement in February on,
Okay.
both
Stay
of
tuned
those.
to that.
Um, and we'll try to have college coaches there. We probably will have some. I can't guarantee how many, but it's a good way to get ready for the major camp season that starts in June. Big colleges are already announcing some of their mega camps. Our camp is set up in that same manner, so it's a good way to kind of tune up and get ready. Because when you go to those big camps, that's when you could make some money if you put
Yeah.
out a good performance. So yeah, that's what I'll share there.
Well, thank you again for being here and for all the incredible work that you do. And we wish you continued success going forward.
I appreciate the opportunity, Coach. Thanks a lot, man.
Thank you. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in and don't forget to subscribe and join us next time for an inspiring conversation on 71 Reasons the podcast, where every athlete's story will be heard. Thank you again, Coach.
Yes, sir.